Hi folks, welcome back. So today I want to take a look at this paper which came out just last week, which takes a very broad look at a large number of companies, large number of employees to see how they used AI agents and what the effect of using them was. Now, a lot of that usage was for software engineering, for programming, but notably other functions, non-programming functions in these companies were also heavy users of AI agents. So right at the top, let me mention the headline feature or the headline finding of this paper, which was that usage of agentic features led to increases in programming output with no decrease in quality. And the numbers associated with this are pretty eye-popping. So if you look at just the time period after the agent became the default, they saw 39% to 49% higher programming activity as measured by commits and lines edited, and no corresponding changes or decreases in quality as measured by both reversion of commits or bug fixes. So that is a very large effect size, a very positive and large effect size. Okay, now that I've told you what the main finding was, let's dig deeper and see how the study was set up and what deeper patterns they found in how employees used agents. So the study looked at 1,000 organizations, and that's great. This is probably the largest study of agentic uses that I've seen so far. And as the author says, primarily used by software roles, 76% of the users were software engineers, but also used by people working in non-software roles like product management and design. Now, one notable thing about the study is that being recent, it looks at a very current snapshot of the capabilities of agents. Specifically, they're looking at Cursor, and this is from the time period after Cursor released its own agent. So it goes much, much beyond just autocomplete. And the agent feature saw a lot of adoption. 92% of all active users and organizations in the sample were using the Cursor agent. And they had two important points in time. One was when the agent was released. And as I say over here, after the agent was released, but before it was made the default, they saw a 26% increase in code merges. And then the second important point in time was when the agent was made the default. And that's when they saw the 39% higher increase in commits relative to the baseline. Looking at the breakdown of their population, you can see that it's pretty representative of medium to large companies. They looked at companies not just from tech, but all different kinds of sectors like finance and consumer and retail. And in terms of the user population, yes, the majority were related to software, but then there are definitely non-trivial fractions of the population in non-technical roles like product or design or sales or marketing. There's also a really good spread of seniority, as you can see here, and the years of experience that people in the population had. So overall, this is a very broad population, and so its findings should be really indicative of how large companies and knowledge workers in general are adopting and using AI agents. And here you can see how agent usage takes up with those two major milestones. This yellow line is when the agent was released in Cursor, and this red line is when agent mode became the default. And you can see how both of those led to upticks, but it was much more significant in terms of adoption after agent mode became the default. Now, you see some really interesting trends when you drill into agent usage and relative acceptance rates by various roles and sectors. Here you can see how design and business operations had very high agent usage and also the highest accept rates. And the authors are hypothesizing that these kinds of roles built a lot of quick prototypes and dashboards, which kind of jives with mine and others' anecdotal experience. And folks working at consulting firms may also have more liberal acceptance criteria because they're building prototypes and dashboards as opposed to production systems. And that might be the main reason why software engineers actually had low accept rates compared to consulting. The other really interesting finding was how seniority relates to usage and accept rates. So they found that junior people have much higher agent usage. However, senior people have much higher acceptance rates. And there are a couple of very, very telling reasons if you look at why that is. So the first one is that what does it mean when you accept the output of an agent? It means that the output it has given you is aligned with your intent, or in simpler terms, it did what you asked it to do. It followed your instructions, it understood your intent. And then if you drill further, there's interesting reasons why that might be the case for more senior people. One is that senior folks just have developed better skills for using agents. And they find that if you dig at the data, yes, there is a skill-based explanation for this gap. And another really big reason for that is that they found more senior people, people with more experience, are more likely to plan before implementing. And this is a really important usage pattern for agents. This is something a lot of people have been stressing for quite a while now, which is that instead of rushing straight into instructing an agent to implement something, you should first spend some time with it to clarify the spec for it and to actually come up with a plan before letting the agent rip and implement something. And this is indeed what the authors found in this data, that senior people plan before implementing. And this might be a big part of the explanation of why they are more effective users of agents. And finally, what does all this mean for knowledge work? This goes back to this term higher order thinking, which is in the title of the paper. Using agents is another ratchet up towards more abstract production, as the authors say here. Programming has been one long march towards higher and higher levels of abstraction, things like high-level languages, object-oriented programming, garbage collection, and so on. And this is yet another step in that. And just like we saw how senior people do more planning, they are doing more abstract thinking. They're trying to be clear in terms of their intent and their spec. And then they're really great at evaluating and judging the output of these agents. And that is the key message that the authors here end the paper with. They want to evaluate the returns to investing in these skills as knowledge work becomes more abstract, which I think is a polite way of saying that it's going to be more and more important to learn how to use agents well to get work done in this new world. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like content like this, consider subscribing, like the video, and I will see you next time. Thank you.